Hey, and welcome to my channel. My name is Chrissy Hodges, advocate for OCD, in particular pure OCD, which is the community name for individuals with intrusive thoughts and mental rituals. Today, I want to talk about the shame around taboo intrusive thoughts. As you know, I like talking about taboo intrusive thoughts as much as possible. One of the main reasons why is because taboo intrusive thoughts in general with mental rituals are so common. However, you might not think that they are because you don't hear them talked about often. I'm going to be honest with you on platforms like this. Uh, they are censoring a lot more than they used to. And so it is important that to keep the videos up when you are talking about mental health and educational material, that sometimes you aren't saying some of the full words because it could get flagged. And that's one of the things that I don't want to happen because I do want to get this information out to you. So I may like use shortening of words and things like that. It's not because I don't want to say it and I don't want to say it and I'm trying to stigmatize it. I just don't want this video to get taken down because I think that it needs to be up for people to hear about it. I am a certified peer support specialist. I work with people worldwide providing support, referrals for therapists. I have online 8-week closed groups so you can meet other people who live with OCD. And I have an online OCD community called the OCD Support Community on the Mighty Network as an app. Inside of this, I have all kinds of things that are happening. I do all kinds of events. We have community classes. There's one-on-one peer support. There's groups every single week, things like that. The community is $35 a month. And so look below to access that. We have people from all over the world in the community. You can connect to others, and it's a great way to get support, and it's there whenever you need it. No CD is an app as well. Inside that app, there's all kinds of resources and all kinds of places to connect with others. And they also do telehealth, doing ERP in many places around the world. Check them out at treatmyocd.com or nocd.com. So today I wanted to talk about 4 places that shame can really get you when it comes to the taboo intrusive thoughts. First of all, what do I mean when I say taboo intrusive thoughts? So intrusive thoughts in general are unwanted thoughts. And with OCD, they're accompanied by usually mental rituals that are trying to neutralize or prove that the thoughts aren't real, etc. Taboo intrusive thoughts that are considered taboo, often very inflammatory terminology. The way I always describe taboo is these are things you would not say very loud inside a coffee shop or a quiet place because everybody would turn around and have a reaction. Now, this is part of the reason why taboo intrusive thoughts are so shameful is because the terminology and the concepts are already inflammatory to the outside world. So to have these intrusive thoughts, knowing how the world feels about these really is confusing, really is shaming. And even though we know that this isn't what we want or who we are or part of our values, the fact that we can't stop or these even showed up to begin with makes you question who you are and if there's something about you that's sexually deviant or you're harmful or you're a murderer, you're an evil, sinister person. So probably the most common taboo intrusive thoughts that I see and work with are going to be harm intrusive thoughts. So that can accompany sex and violence, right? Um, am I gonna harm my loved one? Am I gonna harm somebody? Am I going to snap and become a school shooter? Am I gonna snap and hurt somebody in my car? Um, am I going to poison people? Am I going to rape people? This is getting into the sexual intrusive thoughts. And then am I a pedophile? I'm probably going to use the word pedo just because I don't want to get flagged. Um, incest intrusive thoughts, bestiality, any sort of like weird philia, like necrophilia, um, filicide, things like that, suicide. These are all considered taboo intrusive thoughts. Now, OCD causes shame. Let's just get it out there. It does because it's egocentric, right? And so we're sitting here going, I know that what I'm experiencing in my brain isn't real, but I can't stop thinking about it. That in itself is shame inducing because it pulls control from you, right? It makes you believe there's something else going on and you can't figure it out logically. So there must be something wrong with you. Boom, shame. And also guilt. Taboo, intrusive thoughts bring an entire other element of shame to this. And there's four ways I want to talk about this. The shame of the onset. The onset of taboo intrusive thoughts can be ground breaking, earth shattering. I mean, they usually take people very much by surprise of what why did I even think that? What does that say about me? That's disgusting. What does that mean? Am I this person? What kind of person would think this, right? And so there tends to be some huge shock, disgust, and a lot of fear around it. But we rarely talk about the shame around it, the shame of what kind of person would have these thoughts in the first place. And so because the OCD is ego dystonic and we know that's not something we want, but we can't stop thinking about it, then all of a sudden we're starting to question our character, question our desires, question. And so this breeds even more shame. What if there's something about me I don't know? What if this is something that's just developing? I feel so much shame. Now, this shame will keep you quiet. I mean, usually with OCD anyway, you're just, when it shows up, you think to yourself, okay, this is just a fluke. I need it to go away. Maybe I'll wake up tomorrow and it will be gone, right? But as it does not leave, that shame grows and grows and grows. And as we know, silence breeds shame too, and isolation. Kind of like I'm keeping a secret here. And I'm keeping the secret because is it true? I don't want anyone to know because what if it is true? So people with taboo intrusive thoughts tend to keep this to themselves for a lot longer. So by the time they do tell someone, or even if they're confessing, and it's still not helping because confession is a compulsion, and you're still not going to be able to get kind of that logical reasoning that will make the thoughts go away, right? Because OCD isn't driven by logic. So even in that scenario, if you are telling someone, you're still getting triggered by compulsions. So you're just sitting with this for so long. This is also a reason why it becomes a barrier to treatment. The fears of what is the therapist going to think if I'm telling them I'm worried I'm a pedo, or that I'm going to harm a family member, or, what if I, you know, snap and become an active shooter? Those are things that you're scared are reportable. You're scared that the therapist is going to think that you're serious and that they might call the police on you when you're not serious. You're scared of it. You don't know how to you communicate to the therapist, but you don't know how to communicate enough. This is not who I am. However, I can't stop thinking about it. And that loss in translation is very scary for you. What if the therapist doesn't believe you? Even if you found one of my videos or found something online that says, oh, this is OCD, classic. You're scared you're going to go to the therapist, give them that paper or show them the website, and they're going to go, nope, this is an OCD. And so often you would rather not tell anybody and stay silent. And again, that silence breeds the shame. The shame also becomes a huge factor in just the actual persistence of the thoughts, persistence of the images, the feelings, and especially the physical feelings when we're having urges and we're having groinals, physical sensation, sexual arousal feelings. Again, I've talked about in many of my videos when the sexual feelings get high, physical feelings get high, our insight gets very low, often. And so when this is happening, now all of a sudden we're dealing with meta OCD, which is what if this really isn't OCD and it's real? And then we can go into the territory of, I don't even think this is OCD anymore because it feels too real. Now, the shame here is just absolutely unbearable because now you feel like you're having to face this new side of you or this second self inside of you that's like coming out from the shadows that you don't want to come out because you don't want that to be you and you know that that's not you. But because you can't stop the thoughts, the images, and the feelings, and it's so pervasive, you just get to this point where you think there's no way that this can't be real. And then you might think to yourself, there's no way I can accept that this is real. I cannot be that person. Now we're in danger of depression, hopelessness, helplessness, suicidal ideation, some of those things that, just breed this exhaustion and feeling of having no hope. This is really when you need therapeutic intervention, if you haven't already gotten it. However, again, that pervasiveness breeds the shame, which then makes you not want to seek therapy out of fear. Out of fear of what you're going to find out. What if I get into therapy and I find out that this is real and this is an OCD and I couldn't bear it? These are all normal fears going into therapy, but I can tell you that the shame can exacerbate them when it comes to taboo intrusive thoughts. Two more. First, the shame of admitting that you're having these thoughts. This could be admitting out loud to yourself or, admitting to your family, admitting to a loved one, admitting to a therapist. Saying this out loud breeds shame. Why? You're wondering what the person listening is going to think. You're wondering if you're finally admitting it to yourself that you're having these. If I'm admitting it, does that mean I approve of it and I'm accepting it? No. But you can't help but think that, right? Saying it out loud sometimes makes it feel real. But again, this is a lot of this comes from the way that you're going to communicate it. Even if your insight is low, there's still doubt. And there still was doubt at the beginning. So if you're saying, I'm an exception, Chrissy, I'm saying, no, you aren't. Even if you feel like you are right now, that's not how it began. You may not be remembering that correctly. The shame of the admittance is something we really don't talk about enough. And this is a barrier to treatment. I do not want to say this out loud to another human being. Once I say it out loud, it's out in the open, it's out in the cosmos. I don't want to write it out loud. I don't even want to see my Google searches. I don't want the proof that this actually exists. A lot of that is, what if it goes away tomorrow? And then I'll have that, burden and the guilt and the shame that I had said it out loud. You got to say it out loud. You've got to get therapeutic intervention and you've got to tell a specialized therapist what's going on. OCD therapists have heard it all. They've heard all of these obsessions and they will know how to treat you. And then the last one is, and this is really important. This is regardless of effective treatment, regardless of maybe you haven't had symptoms in a really long time, maybe it's kind of feels like it's in remission. The shame of remembering that you did, the shame of remembering the images, remembering the feelings, remembering the thoughts, and even remembering what you did in therapy to get better because you're in exposure response prevention, you're exposing yourself to your fears. Your fears are already scary enough, but having to expose yourself, sometimes, especially with taboo intrusive thoughts, makes you think, I want this. I'm conjuring up this myself. That must mean that I want to experience it. No. In ERP, especially, no. You're assigned to do that. But testing and checking, which is a compulsion, which you and I get very confused with acting on. See all my videos about this. We might think to ourselves, oh my gosh, I cannot believe I picked that child up and hugged them to see how I would feel. I can't believe that I, hugged my family member really close and pressed my boobs up against them to see if I got aroused. Like you remember things and the shame. And this is where you might get into this territory. All of these, but especially this one, will, because I thought those things, because I allowed these things, I don't deserve happiness. I deserve self-punishment. And then, of course, I don't want to ever tell anybody that I had these things. What would they think of me? I don't deserve love. So these are four very, very real traps of shame you can get caught in. My point in telling you this is because if you have been trapped in it, or if you haven't yet and you think that you might, you should reach out for support. Do that through me, do that through my community, do that with your therapist, friends and family that may understand. Make sure that they understand OCD and taboo intrusive thoughts. It's important that you have support in going through these periods of shame. Isolation, staying quiet is going to make the shame worse and it's going to make you feel bigger. I'm telling you, there's people all over the world that understand what you're going through, that have the same intrusive thoughts that you, the same experience. You think you're alone, you're exception, you're not. Everybody thinks that. Join my community. Come into the community, meet other people, read their stories, come to groups, one-on-one peer support, so you don't have to go through these shame stages alone. It's so important that you don't isolate with this and that you know that you belong and that you are a normal human being with a disorder that creates these things in your head and that you didn't create them yourself. And that by testing and checking, which is compulsive, that wasn't you acting on it or thinking you need to self-punish for the rest of your life. Trust me, this is something that gets talked about all the time in the community, in my groups, when I'm meeting one-on-one with people. You are not alone with this, and you don't have to be. So check out underneath, click on the link, and come join my community. And I hope to see you there because you deserve support, connection, and love, and happiness and peace.